Another day of moving up, and this time, guys, no, I am genuinely seriously concerned with where Bitcoin is headed, because we are headed into the jaws of like three different unrelated forms of resistance that are a big deal, in my opinion. There are also some pretty good developments on this chart, something that could actually take us up towards 40k. I'm going to cover them both with you in this video, but I'm also going to tell you about my bias because, of course, I have a bias. I'm a trader. I must have a bias. I'm going to be doing as much objective analysis as possible, but eventually the job of a trader is to be 100% biased so that you can actually pick a side and make a trade. But let's get into this video and why I think Bitcoin is potentially entering some dangerous territory. But before we get there, we need to take a step back and just understand that Bitcoin has been doing really well. Bitcoin has encountered resistance levels that it's struggled at a little bit and then broken up. Just like this here. We had another resistance level right here. I was outlining it to you guys in my most recent Bitcoin video, so those of you that are subscribed are going to know all about that. And Bitcoin has just managed to overcome that as well. If we zoom in on the 1 hour time frame, we're kind of just moving back down now. But this $27,400 level, this was an area of resistance for Bitcoin and also an area of support if we just kind of trace this level back, right? Like if we just look at this price level and how Bitcoin has interacted with it, there have been quite a few significant bits of price action happening here, especially, from this point and onwards. We've had, resistance, support, this big drop stopping right here, more support, and yeah, resistance right when we got up here. So we did manage to kind of overcome this range, and you can make the line a little bit higher, a little bit lower, it doesn't really matter. But the point is that Bitcoin is flipping its resistance levels, which is absolutely great. And, on these short-term time frames, we're doing pretty well. We've cleared the 1 hour Ichimoku cloud. We've turned it into a support cloud now, which is absolutely phenomenal. On the 4 hour time frame, we're clearing our EMA resistance. Look at that. We're nearly out of it. But this is where the problems start to come up, because on this 4 hour time frame, if we look at where other forms of resistance are, we're kind of approaching some trouble here, guys. We've got this resistance level with the Ichimoku cloud that pretty much peaks right here at 27.9, so $28,000. And this is kind of a big deal to me. I mean, the 4 hour time frame can be pretty reliable for the Ichimoku cloud, especially when you consider that Bitcoin has just been kind of trending up in a straight line, right? Bitcoin has just been moving up in a straight line so far with this trend, and you can see quite clearly volume has also been dropping off. Look at the volume moving average here, this orange line. It represents the average movement of volume. It has been dropping. If I drop a vertical line, it's been dropping, basically as soon as the price started to rise up. We started to see the volume moving average just shortly after turn to the downside, showing us that we're not even getting like a lot of buying action necessarily coming with this bullish price action. And that's one of the best signs that the market might actually lose steam and start dropping lower. But there's more to this that potentially builds the case for quite a compelling short trade. I know that a lot of people are interested in short positions right now, and those short traders are going to be getting quite excited by this. Now, I do want to highlight, those of you that are interested in trading these markets, you actually have access to bingx with my link in the description down below, where you can trade all of the traditional finance markets that you'd want. Tesla stock, Apple stock, S&P 500, gold, commodities like crude oil. You've got amazing bonuses. If you deposit 10k, you get $500 for free. If you deposit 2k, you get 100 for free. These are really good 5% ratios here. You don't usually get 5% ratios. If you deposit $30, they literally just double it and give you $30 more to trade with, which I know it's small money, but the fact that they're giving such good ratios here is very, very compelling. Over $5,000 of other bonuses, but it's the traditional markets and not having to do any KYC that makes this exchange special. They're giving you cool rewards. Of course, you guys know the deal. I'm not bringing an exchange to you guys if they're not going to pay you some good fucking cash to use it. Because why not, right? Everyone's making these offers. You may as well take advantage of them, and they're really powerful offers, but this platform doesn't require KYC. So if you're a little bit more privacy minded, if you don't like taking a picture of yourself, if you don't like taking a picture of your ID, you don't have to do that with this platform. Now, if you are interested in trading on the platform that I've basically been using as my main exchange for years, Bybit is the place to be. And when you follow my links in the description to both of these exchanges, you're going to get over 5,000 in bonuses on bingx and up to 30,000 in just trading money that Bybit will give you. That's free money that they will deposit into your account when you start trading. and you can trade with that money. You can make profits with that money if you're able to, and if you do make any profits, you can also withdraw it as well. So they're basically giving you more trading money to work with here, and that goes up to $30,000. And by the way, any coins you want to buy spot pairs, if you just want to buy coins normally, sell them normally, you're never paying fees on them. 0% spot fees. Absolutely amazing. Well worth checking out these two links in the description here. The other thing that I want to show you, kind of building the image of resistance, is the VPVR. Now what we've got here, and this is, again, nothing that I've said so far pretty much has been new information. I've already said this in previous videos, so just make sure you are subscribed and watching them fully. But this VPVR kind of really spikes up here at $28,000, and it lines up really nicely with the top of the Ichimoku cloud. Now you'll know, if you've been watching me for a while, that the bottom line and the top line of each Ichimoku cloud, for example, this bottom line here and this top line here, they're always going to be the most important levels on the Ichimoku cloud. So the fact that we've got this horizontal line at 28K, the psychological level that it is anyway, given that it's a round number, and the VPVR spiking up here as well, that's a lot of confluence that we've seen build up in the same place, right? What we've seen is that in the same place, we're getting 3, 4, 5 different unrelated things coming together, showing us that there is a good chance Bitcoin might find resistance here. Now that's all happening while Bitcoin is coming fresh off a low. All right, this is a 56-day low. Bitcoin hadn't set a low this low for 56 days, 55 days, you know, and we've not really had a pullback. I mean, we did consolidate a little bit. We did find some resistance where we just kind of traded sideways, but this market hasn't even seen a pullback yet. Now, I'm going to make this even worse for you guys. By the way, I'll show you why it might not be this bad towards the end of the video, because you would know the deal. I'm always balancing out my analysis. Yes, my objective eventually is to be 100% biased so that I can actually enter a trade in the market. But before that, I need to be as objective as possible too, you know? So we really have to wear both hats as traders, and that's what I'm going to be showing you towards the end of this video and kind of balancing this out. But, you know, the next thing that I want to cover with you is the long and short ratio. Now it has dropped down a little bit. We don't have as extreme of a polarization here. You know, previously there were way more longs for retail traders on Binance than right now in terms of, you know, just proportionally. You know, we have seen a little bit of an uptick with top traders. Retail traders have pulled back a little bit, and Bybit, interestingly, for the first time in a while, is now majority long as well, but not by much. Bybit is still basically 50-50. So Fear and Greed Index in the same place here with the 4-slice dashboard. I mean, look, what we're looking at here, to be honest, guys, is more of the same. You know, this is a little bit too high, and the fact is, whether you like it or not, retail generally don't make money. They generally lose money, especially when they're heavily piled on in one direction. It's just generally not going to go that way. This is like what I'm saying now to you guys is based off what I've seen from years of looking at the data. It's only observational, and it's only in my experience, and I haven't actually, you know, tested this as extensively as I should have. But so far, the data has been very compelling. Now, look, I want to make this really clear. You already know this. I'm not the guy that will sit here behind the camera and say that if this number is too high, Bitcoin's going to drop down. Okay, now that's just not particularly, you know, it's not scientific analysis. It's not, it's just not very thorough. It's too basic, you know. That's not what you're getting on this channel, and you know that very well. But at the same time, it's happened to be, guys, that when the fear and when the long and short ratio is, you know, this extreme for retail traders, it's just generally happened to be so many times that the market went in the opposite direction. I'm not saying that that's going to happen now, but I am saying that, you know, this is quite compelling data. You know, and it's not something that I would brush off so easily. So that's another thing that puts Bitcoin in a kind of tricky position, because, you know, we're now back in this range, and, you know, as I said to you in the last video, we should be able to kind of rise to the top of the range, right? Especially if we clear this area of resistance. I'll talk to you about that in a few minutes. Do me a favor and smash up the likes if you're looking forward to that. But I was talking to you about how we should be able to get to the top of the range now, and, you know, that's a lot of volatility for Bitcoin, right? I mean, that, like, there is a lot going on for Bitcoin there, and you have to imagine that if Bitcoin kind of keeps rising up towards the top, you know, it also seems pretty likely that if Bitcoin gets back up to this top, especially after a deviation, we're just more likely to break the top most of the time, right? I mean, it's a lot of strength to show that we, get sent down, but then actually recover. It's a really bullish sign. So, if we get up to the resistance level, reasonably, I think a lot of people are going to be expecting that resistance to break and the price to keep flying up. But again, what is that going to do to the long and short ratio? It's already quite extreme. And, my question, does it really have a lot of space to get even more extreme before there's just too much money on the other side? Because that's what happens when the long and short ratio is so extreme and there is a lot of money on one particular side, then it actually becomes really profitable to take the market in the opposite direction for market makers, for exchanges. That no one ever talks about this, but it doesn't mean that the reality of what's going on isn't happening. There is a lot of manipulation in the market. So when there's a lot of people kind of on one side, it does become really profitable to swing it back in the other direction, and I can easily see this getting way out of hand if we don't get a pullback right now. So it's also kind of the healthiest thing that we need to be able to pull off. But I'm going to do one more thing to make it worse, and I sound like the biggest perma-bear ever right now. So shout out to those of you that are maintaining a sober perspective of my analysis, because like I said, my position hasn't changed yet. I don't need to change anything yet. I'm not worried. And I've been telling you guys about this in real time since I've opened the position. But here again, this chart is also something that I need to pay attention to, before I start kind of reeling it back in and showing you guys the opposite side of what we're dealing with here. This is a pretty big deal. This is a support line that we tested pretty extensively, since March, by the way, and we're in May now. So it's been, a good 2 months that we've had this support line in use. And it's, its tests have been pretty nicely spaced out. We're not testing it, one day followed by another. We're spacing out our test. There was a nice, week in between these two tests, 5-6 days. Then there was a nice big gap to the next test and so on and so forth. And we are now finding resistance here, and again, it also just lines up with that Ichimoku cloud. If we end up trading sideways here for some reason, somehow over the next few days, we're also going to be having some resistance from the Ichimoku cloud. So there's a lot that's kind of stacked up against Bitcoin right now. And this, by the way, this chart gets a little bit worse if we zoom out, because if we zoom out, this is a pretty long-term pattern, as you can see, but it's also a bullish one. It's a bullish triangle with a 14% span, if you kind of measure it from the bottom to the top here, which would have given us a target of $33,000 if we broke up. But right now, we're at the bottom of it, potentially finding resistance where previously we were finding supports. This is where I'm going to start to change tone a little bit, because it's not all actually as bad as I've made it sound. We do have the one-day Ichimoku cloud here, and we've already found a little bit of support from it. And this is where things do start to get a little bit exciting. See, we've lost this daily EMA ribbon here, and we've dropped lower, but this is very similar to what happened last time. Like, what's actually happened since, because as a result of Bitcoin showing as much strength as it has shown so far, it started to become, it started to look a lot like what happened down here, before the big move up. And by the way, if we did manage to reproduce this move, that would potentially turn into, look at this, it was a 47% move to the upside here from this low to the immediate high that we set. If we do that again, that puts us at $40,000. If we do that from our current price right now, that's really exciting, guys. That's a pretty nice image to be seeing right there. And it's not the most unreasonable. Now, look, I don't think we're going to get a big, 12-day pump to $40,000 from here. I mean, that would be amazing if we did. It would certainly make me a lot of money. The point here is that we've got a pretty compelling setup here that's already happened. We already failed the EMA ribbon in the same fashion. It took us down into the Ichimoku cloud. Even if we get to the bottom of the cloud, it's still lining up with really good support, so it's not something that I'm concerned about. It's not something that I'd be worried about. So this big pump here could turn out to be something that really works in Bitcoin's favor, and that is something which is important. There is a lot of resistance lining up with this 28K level, like I said, but if we get above it, I've only been talking about what happens if we get rejected. If we get above it, that's it. There is no more hard resistance here until we get, deeper into the 30s. 28K is a pretty formidable level right now, considering how many things are just stacked one on top of the other, at the very same price level. So if we are able to break it, I mean, we should be having a very, very clean ride up to the rest of this range, and then potentially even breaking it, which would be absolutely amazing. And again, all of this coming off the one-day Ichimoku cloud, wouldn't be surprising. It's already saved the market down here, so it really makes a lot of sense that this could turn out to be pretty useful for Bitcoin. Now, again, we look at traditional finance, and S&P 500 still holding strong in the same place. Gold still holding strong in the same place. Dollar is actually pulling back, and this was what caused all the problems in the first place. If you remember what I was saying on this YouTube channel, I was talking to you guys about how the dollar breaking out upwards is why Bitcoin has seen a drop in its price. But now the dollar is pulling back, so naturally Bitcoin is moving up. And this is where the problems come in again as well, because I've actually gone ahead and drawn this green box right here that represents the range of resistance that the dollar was finding basically for like a month or two. We found support here back in March, and since then it's been a pretty important level on this chart, and we are right now potentially falling right into it. If the dollar captures support here, that probably means a big rally up for the dollar towards its next area of resistance that I've identified, which sits at about 104. And so that's where I would expect the dollar to go after this, and that would definitely, I think, manage to take Bitcoin down quite a bit. That could even take Bitcoin down to $24,000, $25,000. And that's where things could get a little bit risky. But if we do see the dollar continuing to pull back, if this just turns out to be a weird little fake out and the dollar gets right back down to the bottom of this range, which is exactly where we want it for Bitcoin, then yeah, I think Bitcoin could have the open space to continue rising a little bit more. But where it is right now, even though I want to be bullish, and even though I want to tell you all the reasons that Bitcoin should continue to rise up, I was warning you guys that I was expecting Bitcoin to rise up in the last few days when the deviations started to kind of materialize. But now I'm telling you guys that, look, I mean, we've done that rise now. Like we've played it out, and we're approaching an area of resistance, and we're not approaching it with a lot of strength. We look at things like the volume and so on. We look at things like the fact that we haven't even had a pullback yet. It's not the ideal setup. One of the best things Bitcoin has going for it is that it has quite a bit of space, and I did say this in the recent video, it has quite a bit of space between its current price and this area of support now, given that we've been able to rise up. It is only 2.5%, but it's better than where we were yesterday. So, the good news is that if we do start coming down now, it might be fair to expect a bit of support. And ideally, that would mean we get rejected at 28 and then bounce off this level, because if we do that, I think a subsequent test at 28 would probably break, and that's where we would start to break out. We always get more strength when we come down to areas of support and then bounce up. That's always what makes it easier to break resistance levels. So, I'm liking the look of this so far. I don't think Bitcoin's doing anything particularly bad. I am concerned about the long and short ratio. So there's a lot that we need to see playing out, and the altcoins are also looking very hot as usual as well. So I'll be telling you guys what I'm seeing on the altcoin channel right after this video. If you have enjoyed this one, do me a favor, smash up the like, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff so you don't miss out on this very time sensitive content. If you are interested in trading these markets, the top two links will not require KYC, no picture of yourself and no picture of your ID. And BingX will also allow you to trade traditional finance. So you can trade gold there, you can trade stocks and so on, which is really cool. And Bybit, if you want to get up to $30,000 in free trading money with also 0% spot trading fees, you can sign up to Bybit using my link down there in the description. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, you know exactly what to do. Hit up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.